All right, today we're going under the hood. We're going to take a look at what makes modern sports organizations, from massive global operations like the Olympics, all the way down to the local nonprofits changing their own communities, what makes them really, truly successful.
So let's just start with that big question. What does success actually look like? Is it just about hoisting trophies and selling out stadiums, or is there more to it? Well, as we're about to see, the modern answer is way deeper and a lot more interesting than just winning. Here's our game plan for today. First, we'll look at the blueprint for success. Then, we'll dive into fueling the engine. After that, we'll check the off-field scoreboard, and we'll wrap up with what it all leads to, building a lasting legacy. Let's jump in.
First up, the blueprint. You know, the best sports organizations don't just get lucky. Their success is meticulously designed, and that design, it all starts with a clear, deliberate plan that guides every single move they make.
That plan has a name: strategic planning. Think of it as the architectural blueprint for the whole organization. And it's not some dusty document that just sits on a shelf. It's a living, breathing process where leaders figure out exactly where they're going and, maybe more importantly, how they're going to get there.
And this whole process really boils down to 3 key steps. First, you identify your big picture priorities, what absolutely has to get done. Then you develop specific objectives, turning those big ideas into concrete goals. And finally, you sequence the implementation, because you can't do it all at once. It's kind of like a funnel, taking you from a broad vision to focused, day-to-day action.
Okay, so what does this look like in the real world? Take Pan Am Sports, the group that runs the Pan American Games. Their strategic plan is built on these really clear pillars. One pillar is all about the athletes, their development, making sure their voices are heard. The other is about supporting the national organizations. See what they're doing? They're balancing the human side of sport with the structural foundation needed for it to thrive.
And look, this idea of having a blueprint isn't just for the big dogs. It scales down perfectly. We're going to be following a nonprofit called the 613 Foundation, and their 5-year plan has the same kind of clarity. They're focused on fundraising, staffing, building their board, and improving their services. The scale is totally different, but the strategic thinking, it's exactly the same.
Okay, on to part 2. A brilliant blueprint is great, but it's just paper without the resources to actually make it happen. So let's talk about the fuel for the engine, the money, the people, and the processes that bring a strategy to life.
And this number reveals a huge vulnerability. For a lot of nonprofits, funding is a massive challenge. A study found that a shocking 36% of them depend on 3 or fewer sources of revenue. I mean, that's like trying to run a marathon with a tiny gas tank. It is incredibly risky.
The answer to that risk is something called revenue diversification. Honestly, you can just think of it like a smart investment portfolio, but for an organization. Instead of putting all your eggs in one basket, like a single donor or grant, you build multiple streams of income. That's what creates the financial stability you need to actually follow through on your long-term vision.
But fuel isn't just about money. The real engine is people. If you look at the 613 Foundation, you can see how they punch way above their weight. They have this tiny core staff, just 7 employees, but they amplify their impact by tapping into this huge network of over 930 volunteers every single month. That's incredible.
Another key resource? Partnerships. This chart shows how the foundation strategically built a network of over 300 partners. And this network does more than just provide stuff. It expands their reach, it builds their credibility, and it helps them serve their community better. It is a powerful force multiplier.
So, we've got a plan and we've got the resources. But is any of it actually working? Section 3 is all about that off-field scoreboard, how modern organizations are figuring out how to measure what really matters for their long-term health.
And this is a really crucial shift in thinking. For a long time, we used what's called the goal model. Basically, did you hit this one specific target, yes or no? But the new resource model takes a much broader, smarter view. It says that high performance is really about the ability to consistently attract the resources you need to thrive. It's a huge shift from just chasing short-term wins to ensuring long-term survival and impact.
Let's go back to the 613 Foundation, because they are a perfect example of this. They don't just measure how many dollars they raise. They measure their real-world impact. As you can see here, they track things like the number of diapers they distribute, over 1 million of them, and how many families they serve. This is what measuring what matters looks like. It connects their day-to-day work directly to their core mission.
And you know, measurement isn't a one-and-done kind of thing. It's this continuous loop called monitoring and evaluation, or M&E.
You plan, you monitor what's happening, you evaluate the results, and then you adapt. It creates a constant feedback loop that helps organizations stay sharp and get better over time.
This brings us to our final section, and honestly, the most important one. Because a plan, resources, and measurement, they're all just tools. The real purpose, the ultimate goal, is to build a lasting legacy of positive impact on people and on communities.
And we're seeing this at the highest levels of sport. The organizers of the Paris 2024 Olympics are building their legacy right into the plan from day one. By focusing on sustainability, they're not just hoping for good outcomes, they're aiming for concrete benefits, like a smaller environmental footprint and greater social inclusion. The legacy isn't an afterthought, it's a core objective.
This focus on legacy also changes how we think about athletes. The goal shifts from just producing elite players to developing well-rounded people. Concepts like physical literacy, which is basically giving kids the confidence and skills to be active for their whole lives, become just as important as winning. It's about giving young people tools that serve them long after they've hung up their cleats.
And that brings us right back to the heart of our case study. The ultimate legacy of the 613 Foundation isn't going to be found in a financial report. It's found right here in its mission statement: meeting the needs of people in crisis with compassion, kindness, dignity, and hope. That powerful, human-centered purpose is the why that drives everything they do.
I want to leave you with this really powerful quote. It's from the National Youth Sports Strategy. Helping kids win on the scoreboard of life is pure joy. I mean, that just perfectly captures the soul of a truly successful sports organization, one that gets that its ultimate product isn't the game itself, but a better community filled with stronger, healthier people.
So as we've looked at the whole anatomy of these organizations, the ultimate question isn't just how they win, but what they're winning for. Is the goal simply to win games, or is it to use those games to build a better world? Thanks for joining us.